All right, what is going on, everybody? And I salute to all of you, but I'm not saluting to this guy because he was a chief. He worked for his freaking khakis, and that's a military
Exactly.
thing. So this is Travis, the Dividend Collectuh, as the AI from when you listen to the articles played on Seeking Alpha.
Yeah.
It can't say Collecta. So
Right.
Travis, what's up, man? Thank you so very much for swinging on by.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So let's just get into it with that, man. You are a retired Navy chief, and
Yep.
just tell us a little bit about how you got into the military. What got you in there? What got the ball rolling? And you retired, man. So how'd that all come about?
I'm from a small town in Alabama. There's not a lot there. And it's funny because the way my career path went, it was actually supposed to be my cousin. It wasn't supposed to be me. So he'll probably watch this and like, yep, that was supposed to be me. But he was the one that talked to the military recruiter. I wasn't thinking about it. I just, thought about the whole college thing. My father told me like, "Hey, what do you want to do? I'll pay for your college." He just wanted me to go to college, get a degree so he can, be proud of that. I remember one day my mom and my aunt were like, "Hey, what are you going to do when you graduate? You should go to the Navy like your cousin." And I was like, huh, I never thought of that. My sister was in the Navy too. And I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. I've always been one of those people that I'll try anything once. I signed up, passed the ASVAB, and 2 months later I was gone. So straight out of high school, I graduated in May of 2002. And July, I was shipped off to boot camp. And 21 years later, I retired.
You didn't take the summer off like I did. I took the
Oh, so
summer
it
off.
was funny.
Yeah.
I tried. I was like, oh yeah, let me I'll take the summer off and then I'll go like next year. Cause some people would stay in debt for a year or two and they was like, you either go now or you can go in December. And I was like, I will not be going to Chicago in December. So I was like, send me in July. So that's how I end up not getting the summer off.
Yeah, I was there from I was in basic training in Great Lakes, which is up north by like Waukegan, North Shore. I was there from November. I graduated in November. But
Right,
yeah,
right.
it was I just thought of something. A lot of people watching may have just thought I was disrespectful towards you. I really need to explain it. So in the military, in the Navy, at least we don't salute other enlisted personnel. We only salute
Right.
officers. So that was always a thing. If you're enlisted and you salute another enlisted person like a chief, somebody that's earned khakis, usually they'll give you crap for it because they'll say, "Nah, I worked for these khakis." At least
Exactly.
my
It's always, hey,
at
I
least
work for a
chief
living.
said,
So
yeah. So anyway, that's why no disrespect. Anyway, little bit of
yeah.
Navy inside talk. We could probably swap so many sea stories, but tell us
Right.
the sea story of the dividend collecta origin. How'd you come up with that?
Like I said, I always been a big fan of Warren Buffett, and he collects a lot of dividends. In my early days, way back, during the GFC, actually, of course, I didn't really know what I was doing. I would talk to different people, and they were like, "Hey, buy this company, Coca-Cola, Procter and Gamble. All companies that pay dividends," but I didn't really focus on them at the time. And so once I was getting closer to retirement, I started to realize like I'm retiring. You got to go out and get a job, and I wanted dividends to pay for my lifestyle. So once I kind of made the transition into Seeking Alpha, it was just a spur of the moment thing. I was like, I love collecting dividends, so why not call myself the dividend collector? No one ever says with the OR or when you pronounce butter, it's never like butter, it's butter. So I just threw a little flair on there. So that's the origin of the dividend collector. So and now
How
everyone calls me DC, so that sticks too, like DC Marvel. So hey DC, so it's pretty cool.
So, your time in the military, did that teach you anything? Has anything helped you from your military days to be a better investor, give you more discipline, or teach you not to do anything? Is there any takeaways from that?
Yeah, man, unfortunately, and hopefully my Navy people don't, look at this as a bad thing, but the military kind of teaches, especially with finances, it taught me a lot of what not to do. You know, you see, because the military can spoil you a lot. You got a steady paycheck. You make good money once you start going up in rank. I think a lot of people don't realize that your 20, 30 years, whatever you do, it's gonna come by pretty quick. And at the end of it, you're like, what do I have? I have nothing. So you're either forced to stay in or you're forced to go out and get a regular job. And as well as I do, we invest to buy back our time. time is the most important thing. So I learned a lot of what not to do. And also I had a mentor. He was a BMC like myself. He was a huge investor. You expect that from officers, they're college educated and things like that. So they might have grew up, differently than a lot of enlisted people, but I always wanted to be different. I never wanted to get out and be back at square one because I feel like then 20 years is wasted. In the military, you have a lot of benefits that regular civilians don't have. We would go on deployment and it's like, hey, I'm gone for 6 months. So if you're single and you don't have a family, you can give up your apartment and someone's paying you. You have somewhere to stay rent free, and things like that. So you can save all that money. So you would come back from deployment with 30, 40, 50 grand. If you're doing continuous deployments, it's like after 20 years, you should have a good nest egg. I always thought about that when my old BMCs and BM1s retired, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out and get a job. And I'm like, do you want to or do you have to? And those are the things that I thought about. And I was like, I never want to be that. I want to do something because I want to, not because I have to. So the military kind of taught me that a lot. It taught me about opportunity. I'm a big opportunist. Hey, I had the opportunity to save a lot of money on deployment, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Smart, man. When I was young, when I was 19, 20, and we did our deployment, we started in Norfolk. I got or
Hmm.
Norfolk as they call it out
Right.
there. Got on the John C. Stennis at the tail end of its coming out of the shipyards, did the sea trials, and then we switched home ports from Norfolk to San Diego on NAS
Hmm.
North Island. Shout out. And dude, I remember talking to my mom and said, it's crazy. Some of these guys are getting out. They've been in for 4 years and the paycheck they're getting, that's all the money they have. I'm not going to be like that. And sure enough, I got out and the paycheck I had was all that I had because I spent it all. And I always say drinking, gambling, and women, all
Right.
gone. Every paycheck. There was times, like you said, you got a place to stay. I would spend all my money and it'd be 3 days till payday. I had to stay on the boat. I couldn't buy gas. I couldn't do anything. So I
Right.
had to
Yeah.
stay on base because everything is compensated and taken care of. So speaking of being taken care of, you did your 20, you get a pension on that. Is that,
Mhm.
without revealing any numbers, is that enough to cover most of your lifestyle or a good amount of it?
So it all depends on how you live. I live in San Diego, which is very expensive. My girlfriend, she helps me out a lot, but not really help me out, but we contribute together. But it's all about how you live, right? I've always been the guy that lived below my means. I never really went out and bought a bunch of expensive things. I will, if I want to, but again, I do it because I want to, not because I have to, or I never wanted to say, hey, I splurged a little bit, right? I worked hard. I did the deployment. Let me go splurge, and it's like, oh, but now I'm broke. So again, with a lot of military guys, right? They get out and right, and you got a big family to take care of. You got your rent still has to be paid, and now you're used to getting 2 paychecks a month, and now you're getting one. So I think that's
Mm.
scary for a lot of people. But for myself, I've always been one of those people that I like the unknown, right? It's like I don't know what I'm going to do, but hey, I'm gonna figure it out. And that was always big for me. But yeah, I can definitely see why some guys will have to get out and work. It all depends on how you live through your military career. And I've always had the mindset of like, I gotta save, I gotta be prepared, right? And of course, you're never prepared enough. Yeah, so the pension it's good. You also, you can get your disability once you're retired as well. So that helps out a lot. So it all depends on how you live. Some people they try to maintain a certain lifestyle when they get out. I had an old senior chief that he was like, I need this amount of money because I got to maintain my lifestyle, which he had kind of an expensive lifestyle, but I've never been like that. So it was a fairly easy transition for me.
I love that word you said, living below your means, and that's key. Like that's how we
Right.
say it can be distilled down to becoming wealthy is just two things. You have to spend less than you earn. So you have to
Right.
underspend your income and then invest in things that you understand and things that are
Yeah.
going to hopefully appreciate. I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad where I that was one of the books I read where they talked about Robert Kiyosaki mentioned how assets are things that put money into your pocket, and liabilities are things that take
Liabilities.
money out. So, baby, you got to be buying those things that put money into your pocket if you want to be financially free someday. So, middle class, you mentioned on your profile on Seeking Alpha, and that was me. Like, I was lower middle class. How did that shape your investing philosophy? And then again, in the military, did you have any kind of structured financial literacy? Did they give you anything? Because when I was in the late 90s, there was nothing. zero, no kind of financial literacy that we could have went to if we wanted it. It just didn't
Right.
exist. So how did that shape you? Do you have a lot of people that you still help? Do you ever think you want to help people that were in the military, or are you just content on doing helping people through Seeking Alpha?
It's funny that you asked. So I have so many things that I want to do, and I want to create a platform. So, and I'm still in the process of it, which is will probably come down the line, and who knows, maybe you can join that band. But my big thing is I wanted to, like, when I said I want to start my own YouTube channel, but I want to cater it to military, right? And it's not just for military; it's for anyone, because the military, it gives us so many opportunities. There's nothing worse than a wasted opportunity. That's just my opinion. Some people don't have those opportunities. So it's like, well, I never had that opportunity. You can go and create it, but the military literally gives you an opportunity. And if you retire after 20, 30 years, right, and you retire with nothing, it's like you wasted that opportunity. So I want to create a platform where, who knows, maybe I'll go around to different ships and commands and kind of speak with, especially the lower enlisted. The officers are a little bit more educated, so they're not as bad, but, kind of cater a platform where, like I said, I go around and I speak and I just, talk about dividend investing and just investing for wealth, and making military people realize the opportunities that they have. Because sometimes you don't realize it until it's too late, or you realize it later. You're like, oh man, when I was in the military, I made this amount of money. I went on these amount of deployments, and I saved this amount of money. Then why did you retire, with nothing? And I learned from a lot of my leaders, like, and I was just like, I don't want to be that guy. No one in my family had a financial background. I just didn't want to live how everyone else lived. I kind of got a rebel mentality. I kind of think outside the box a little bit. I want to do things differently. If everyone else is doing it, I'm like, I don't want to do it. Or, hey, I'm going to show everybody that I'm going to be successful at this because no one else can do it. So that's just kind of my mentality I've always had since a kid. When I started the Seeking Alpha thing, it's funny. So Brad Thomas, who I work with now, we're in business together. We're actually writing a book together, which probably will be coming out sometime next year or the year after. But I used to read a lot of his stuff, his story about how he lost a lot, and it was pretty cool. And I was like, man, I can do this. I would read so much and learn so many things. I was like, I can do this. I'll give it a shot. And I didn't expect it to take off like this, to be honest. But yeah, I was fortunate to find Seeking Alpha. I still don't know how I found it. I can't remember how I came across the platform, but I found it. I would read it every single day, for hours and hours a day, and now I'm here.
It's a super tool. I know before we were on, we were talking, I mentioned Ryan Williams, how he's just
Right.
says it's completely changed his investing trajectory, was
Yeah.
finding Seeking Alpha just because of all the analysts, and there's so many opinions and there's so much to learn. It literally is just a wealth of information. And I know I always push the link. I got affiliate links and whatnot, but I tell
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
like, try it. Just try it for a week. Like, you got
Yeah.
or I think it's 2 weeks, you get a free trial.
Yeah.
Why not? Just cancel it if you don't like it. You're
Yeah, you'll
fine.
be surprised that it's something so small, or so, you're like, oh, just try it, but it can literally change your. I mean, it literally changed my life. I found it, and yeah, it changed my life. So I say, give anything a try, and if you don't like it, you don't like it.
You can change other people's lives too. I love that,
Right.
man. You know, I
Yeah.
I don't shy away from things. I talked with Lisa J Stock. She's got a newer channel, but I've
Hmm.
told her, I'm like, you know what? She's a black woman. I said it's
Hmm.
awesome because I'm a white dude. Like,
Right.
there's
Right.
not much I'm gonna be able to connect with an inner city, low income, raised, black kid or black girl. Like, it's just not gonna happen. Like, I can
Right.
try, maybe it will, but like I told her, I was like, you have such an opportunity that's something you should lean into, because there's so many people that need to hear the personal finance and just breaking free of the wheel of not having money. Like, it can be done. Anybody can do this. So
Right.
it's so motivating to just see more. I don't know, is that the right thing? People of color in
Yeah.
finance, because there's so many, like, there's so many white dudes in it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is okay, but Warren Buffett's great. But I mean, honestly, a 22-year-old kid, in a poor neighborhood is going to see Warren Buffett and might, I don't know, just an old
Yeah.
dude. Anyway. So
No, it's
I
funny that you brought that up, because that was the one thing that I was worried about on Seeking Up, and that's why I kind of remain anonymous because I was like, who wants to listen? You know, who would be willing to listen to some at the time some 39-year-old military retired black guy, right? No, nobody wants to hear because it's a lot of older people on Seeking Alpha. So I was kind of worried about that, but at the end of the day, it's like if you're genuine, you know, I think people can feel that, and you know they will understand, and you know they'll listen to you. You know, I even worried about when a lot of the CEOs would reach out to me. They'd be like, "Hey, I would love to do a Zoom call," and I was like, "Oh man, do they know I'm black? You know, will they look at me
Yeah.
differently now? You know?" And no one cares. You know, if you put out good information, that's the only thing that people care about. But yes, you can connect with other people. You know, depending on your skin color and things like that. So, and that's something that I want to do as well. Again, I love to help everybody. There's a reason why there's wealth gaps and things out there like that. And then the black community, like we don't pay attention to it as much, right? You know, I want to be a reason why that changes.
Yeah, I remember hearing an interview with somebody, and they said that, and they see this is something I'd never heard, I've never been aware of, but I guess they say in a lot of the black community, it's all about like the car you drive and what's on your body. Like that's all that matters. Like it just,
Yep.
that's all that matters is the chains you got, like the clothes, I don't know. My kids will
No,
laugh if
yeah,
they hear the
no,
drip.
it's
I don't know. I wanted to say drip. I'm like, I don't even know if they still say that, but it'll make me sound really old and corny. But yeah, it's dude, like you can just teach people like, no, it's more
right.
than that. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah, and you change your mindset because I always that guy too, right? You know, in our community, it's your shoes and your chains, and that tells people your wealth. But really, those are the people that don't have money. You know, people with money don't want you to know they have money. You know, once I shifted my mindset, I can normally look at a person and say, yeah, that person is the person with the money, right? If you have to be flashy and things like, and there's nothing wrong with going out buying something, when you work hard for. A Corvette is still on my wish list, which I will buy, eventually. But that doesn't really matter to me. It's to me, it's about building wealth. And I think that's why stocks is not as attractive to people because no one can look at you and know you have a $3 million portfolio or whatever. So, but if you say, hey, look at my big house right here, it's physical, they can see it and they say, oh yeah, that guy must have a lot of money. But once you start building wealth and you realize you're like, yeah, I don't want people to know what I have. You can assume, and I get it, stocks are not, sexy or whatever, especially the dividend stocks. I talked to, so right before I retired, I talked to a lieutenant, he's out now too. And I said, hey, sir, why don't everyone invest in dividend stocks? To me, it's a no-brainer, right? The company pays you its profits to own it, and it helps you stomach volatility, right? Because the market is going down, but hey, I still get my paycheck, every quarter or whatever. Like, so I've structured mine how my military paycheck was because I was used to getting paid twice a month, right, for 21 years. So I was like, I'm gonna find these stocks and structure it to get paid every, biweekly. And then I was like, why not structure it to get paid weekly, right? And so that's what I did. So, the dividends roll in and it helps you build your snowball. But, going back to my original thing, I asked the lieutenant, I was like, why don't everyone do dividend investing? To me, it's a no-brainer. And he was like, Chief, it's just not sexy. You buy a few shares and you're like, oh man, I got, $3 from Starbucks and that's every 3 months. But, continuously doing it and reinvesting dividends, that $3 would turn into $300 eventually. And, four and five and 600. So, and then when you have all these other companies paying you, you realize like, oh man, I'm really starting to make some money.
It's that snowball. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, look, if you want $1,000 a month in passive income or dividends, you can't get that without that first dollar. So just focus on that first
Yeah.
dollar and then 10 and just build it from there. 5 to 7 years, you said you got a 5 to 7 year plan. So when did that start? When are you on track to hit it? Are you getting close? How's that looking?
So I'm on track to hit it. I gave myself 5 to 7 years. I'll probably hit it before that. With the stock market, man, it's just something that I really enjoy doing. I'm normally, my girlfriend gets off me. She's like, "You're always on your phone," but I'm watching the market, and I'm trying to, I feel it bothers me to miss an opportunity, right? And there's always an opportunity somewhere. No matter, the market's been rallying lately, but there's an opportunity. Verizon has been dropping, so it's like, will it drop another 20 cents to hit my, limit order so I can buy some more shares, right? So they
Mhm.
say your first 100,000 is the hardest, right? For me, it wasn't hard at all. And I hit it pretty quick. I think it was maybe 2 years. It was a lot easier for me because I was just maniacal. I was like, oh, I gotta buy this, right? And trials and tribulations. I made some mistakes. I was day trading at first, and that's what really changed my mindset. And it's funny, speaking to you, because and my friend he'll enjoy this, but the he changed my mindset because I was day trading. I made some good money in the market. I think I had made like $5,000 that day, like $9,000 during the week. And I was like, oh man, I made this money. I'm gonna sell it. And he's like, no, you should hold it. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Lost it all. And that's what really shifted my mindset. And I was like, I don't like this. Yes, you can make some good money, but you can also, lose just as much money. So once I lost that $9,000, I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing. And that's what really got me on the dividend, journey. Of course, I always invested in it, here and there, but that's what really shifted my mindset, where it's like I'm all about the dividend. And that was the birth of the Dividend Collector. So
Well, I think the moral of the story is clearly never take investing advice from MMs. You'd be good.
right.
Machinist mates. So
Right, right.
yeah, no, that's good that you hit it that quick. Yeah, it was Charlie Munger that I think he had a little bit more coarse way of saying the first hundred
Right.
thousand is the hardest to reach. But hey, dude, you just show, man, you set your mind to it. You got a goal, just keep plugging away, and it's like
Yeah.
anything, you'll
And
get there.
everything is about mindset. That's how I was always a Kobe fan, because he was all about mindset, right? And once you shift your mindset, you'll be surprised at what you can achieve. And that's what I really like about investing, because you really have to shift your mindset, and you have to be mentally strong, right? To be able to stomach that volatility. I love REITs. I invest in a lot of REITs, and last year was tough watching realty income fall to I think like $46, and he's like,
Yep.
oh man, I got in on realty income at a good price. My cost basis is low, in the low 50s, but if it goes down to $30, $20, it's like, oh man, what's wrong with this company? Something must be wrong with it. It's going down, and then you panic sell, and you watch it go back, and you're like, I should have kept it. So you're like, I don't have time to deal with this. I'm out. It's not attractive for a lot of people, and they quit.
That's where it can help to have people that are knowledgeable get in with people that have a lot of experience, like Brad Thomas. So we can use that to segue into like iREIT and Hoya. So how did you hook up with them? Did you talk to them before you started investing? Have they helped you become a better investor?
Yeah, so it was funny. It was maybe this past summer. So the iREIT and Hoya, I'm an investing group leader in it, but Brad and Alex, they run the group. Alex, he writes on the Hoya Capital, and he reached out to me. He messaged me on Seeking Alpha, and he was like, "Hey, I love the work that you're doing." I grew pretty quick. I'm sure that probably had something to do with it, which again, I didn't expect it. Seeking Apple was just like a hobby. I was like, I can do that. He reached out to me, and he was like, hey man, I love the work that you're doing, and I would love for you to join the group. And I was like, yeah, no question. I'm down. Let's do a call. And we did a call, and so it was a pretty easy transition. So he just reached out to me. He saw the interaction probably that I do with the readers. I try to interact with everyone, answer everyone's question, because I genuinely love doing this. That's how we started. He just reached out to me, told me he wanted me to, join the group, because they were merging, like iREIT and Hoya. You had Hoya Capital, and then you had Brad Thomas's iREIT. And
Mhm.
so they just merged together, right, to pretty much form a super group. So I just look at it like, hey, you wanted me to be a part of the Avengers, right? You're creating a super team.
Beautiful.
So yeah, but that's how I started. He just reached out to me and asked me would I join, and I was like, sure. Nothing changes for me really. I continue to write articles like I do, but I just post in an investing group, and I get access to Alex's and Brad's brain. So it's definitely been a wonderful thing. I do a lot of work with Brad. Like I said, we're writing a book together. So yeah, you get a lot of access. So I plan to create my own ETF one day. It's a thought, and Hoya Capital have their own ETFs, and Brad Thomas has his own ETF. iREIT, IRET is the ticker symbol, I think. But so like, what better guys to talk to when I want to start my own?
So I guess we can keep the REIT talk going, because I wanted to ask you. I read a few of your articles recently. One you just did was on Vici Properties, ticker
Hmm.
VICI, and you just said you're going to be going out to Vegas. They got is it NAREIT? is it the National
Yeah,
Association of Real Estate Investment Trusts, NAREIT, that's going to be holding their convention, I guess?
yeah, it's a conference, the REIT
Conference.
World conference that they're holding on the 18th through the 21st. So yes,
Yeah,
yes,
dude,
all
they're all
the
going to
REIT
be there.
CEOs get out. Yeah, they all get together and just talk REITs. So yeah, it's gonna be a cool experience.
Yeah, you were just telling me you're going to get to meet up with Ed Petoniak, who's the CEO of VICI Properties, and he's somebody that when I was starting to learn about the business, I really enjoyed listening to him. I enjoyed reading his
Right.
shareholder letters. So he's just, from what I know, never met him, obviously, solid dude. So Vici, what's something really quick that you can share about Vici that you like about it, and you're gonna. So do you? I assume you invest in Vici?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
VICI is one of my largest holdings, along with Agree Realty. So they used to be my largest holder. I sold off some shares for a profit a couple of months ago. So yeah, I just love Vegas. I started going to Vegas in 2014. It's just I don't know if you ever been to Vegas, but it's a different experience. It's a
A
different
bunch of
world,
times. I was just out there
and
last April. I got a picture with Mr. Ryan Williams, the one and only, as you're
yeah,
seeing on the
so
screen right now. Anyway, so yeah, Vici,
yeah, I started
Vegas,
going
you
to
like
Vegas in
Vegas.
2014, and I was just like, man, Vegas is people spend so much money out here. It's like once you go to Vegas, you just forget all your problems. You're just like, hey, I'm here to spend $5,000. I don't care, and then I'll go back to reality, and it's like, ah, man, I'm broke again. But I just love the business model, right? And I watched the old Warren Buffett video. I don't know when it was published, but he talked about Las Vegas and he said he went through Las Vegas and he was like, man, people are here to do some really dumb things and spend a lot of money. That's what Vegas is all about. So
It was his
once I,
honeymoon. It was on his
yeah,
honeymoon he stopped through Vegas, and yeah, I know
yeah,
I've read
yeah,
too much about Warren Buffett. It's
yeah,
probably not
yeah,
healthy.
save here.
Yeah.
No, it's a good thing, man. It got us where we are now. But yeah, he talked about that, and it's really true, right? People go out there and spend so much money, and VT has the long leases. I think their average lease is like 42.1 years. And I know a lot of people, are worried about them, getting most of the revenue from the strip. But it's like, man, if you pay attention to Vegas and you keep up with it, they're not going anywhere. They're putting a lot more stuff out there for adults. And, just saying you own a piece of property on the Las Vegas Strip, one of the most iconic places in the world. It's not a lot of people that can say that. The thought of owning real estate on the Las Vegas Strip is what really made me invest in Vici. When I first learned about REITs, the first thing that I said is, who owns the real estate on the Las Vegas Strip? That's one of the first things I said, and I found out it was Vici Properties, and at the time it was MGP Properties, I think,
MGM Growth
or
Properties. Yeah, I
MGM Growth.
invested in them
Yeah,
because we went to Vegas and we were at the New York, and I did a little digging and I saw it was MGP, and then yeah, Vici swallowed up MGP. They merged.
right. Yeah, and that's what I did, and so I invested in both, right, and then they merged. At the time, once they bought them out, I had like I think like 500 and some shares of VT. So yeah, I had a lot of shares, and even with the Bellagio, I think Realty Income's own a piece of that, but.
Yep.
I know Blackstone was. I wrote about it, and I was like, oh, maybe VT, will take that. But I think Ed, he was like, yeah, it wasn't worthy for us, But Realty. I think I wrote about it before it happened. I was like, oh, either VT or maybe O. And then O came out, and they bought a stake in the Bellagio. But I remember being in the Bellagio, and I knew what Vici owned, of course, right? So me and my girlfriend was there, and I was like, who owns Bellagio? And that's when I found out that Blackstone. And then I think a couple months later, they was like, "Oh, we're looking to sell a stake in the Bellagio," and then Realty Income bought them up. So yeah, so that's how I am. If I don't know about something, quick Google. You'll be surprised at what you can find if you go looking and you go searching.
And it's pretty cool that Vici, they've talked about how they own a lot of the properties at I always get this confused. I want to say the south end of the strip, wherever the Luxor is. Maybe that's the north end. I always get those mixed up, but there's a lot
Yeah,
going on
I
at
think.
the end by
Yeah,
where you got New York,
yeah,
Luxor, Mandalay Bay, all those because you got the stadiums. The
yep,
Oakland A's are coming. They say
yep.
there's the Tropic or there yeah there's stadiums going where the Tropicana was. They just knocked it down, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
I actually just wrote about that yesterday. So that should be coming out tomorrow. But it's a REIT called Gaming and Leisure Properties. They own the land, and they're doing a lot of deals with Bally. So yeah, it was where the Tropicana was. But yeah, they got a 30,000 seat stadium coming, and they're looking at bringing other teams. So it's like it's safe to say Vegas isn't going anywhere. So
No, they got the Aces, right? Got the Raiders. There's just it's not going anywhere. And it's just a matter of time before an NBA team comes.
yeah, I say probably in the next 2 to 3 years, I think an NBA team is coming.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
team do you
that's
think
just
is
my
going to
opinion.
be?
I don't know that.
If you had to guess, which team you think?
I don't know. I can see one of the LA teams because they have a few. Maybe the Clippers. They're the redheaded stepchild of the LA teams, the California teams, I should say. So maybe the Clippers.
A couple more we could do some quick hits on that you wrote about. And by the way, because I'm a Seeking Alpha affiliate, I get to share articles for free. So I'm going to share a few of your articles. It'll be in the description below, so you can check out Travis's articles. Do it, read them. All you have to do is click the link. You'll get to see them for free. And then Starbucks. I like Starbucks. I don't like that it jumped up so much with Brian Nickel.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on Starbucks with their new CEO?
Yeah, man. So I'm one of those people, and my mindset is a little different. I noticed that people, once they hear something, right, it's like, oh yeah, that sucks. It's not gonna work. Whatever. It's the thing. I'm a big Marvel fan, and they drop a new trailer, and people are like, oh yeah, that sucks. It's the old, and it's like, hey man, give it a chance. You don't know, and then it turns out to be better, and you're like, oh yeah, that was actually pretty good. So I go into it with a positive mindset. So I wrote about it, I think a couple months ago, but that I was basically excited for the turnaround because I saw what he did for Chipotle. If you do something once, you can do it again. That's kind of like my mindset. So I'm like, if he was successful in turning Chipotle around, he should be able to do it for Starbucks. Yeah, it's different companies, but even, I think I published an article last week on Starbucks, and the small things, it's like they say, the little things that count, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about removing a charge for extra milk, which is small for people, but it's huge because with high interest rates and things like that, people are hurting, right? Credit card debt is surging, household debt. Removing the extra charge will make you say, you know what? I'll go back and give them my money because you feel like you're getting something that's worth something, right? People are changing now, so people don't mind spending their hard-earned money if they feel like they're gonna get something that's worth it. Removing the extra charge for the milk, changing the seating around, slowing down the store openings, and focusing on like we used to say in the military, the alligators closest to the boat, right? Focus on that first, and then you can move out. And I think he just leaning the company out, right? Like Lean Six Sigma, he's starting with the small things, cut costs, and so I think it's in the next 1 to 2 years. I think Starbucks is going to be back at 120, 130 bucks, and everyone's going to love it then. And it's like, man, you should have loved them when they hit $68 because I did.
Yeah, I got upset. I was really trying to get to 100 while it was in the low 70s, mid 70s. But Brian Nickel, they just had to hire him, and he ruined everything. And don't forget, he's a magic man. He also was responsible before Chipotle. He was with Yum Brands, Taco Bell, and he was the genius, from what I read, behind the Doritos Locos tacos, or just getting Doritos into the taco shells. And I don't know. I don't really eat that stuff, but it's popular from what I see, from what I hear.
Yeah, I haven't had Taco Bell in forever, man. But I read about the work that he did, and I'm like, I think he can do it for Starbucks, right? Because Starbucks already has the brand and the people. You just got to get the good foot traffic back in the stores, and I think that he can do it. Especially with interest rates declining and expected to continue. Starbucks is a known brand. When I go to the airport, there's always a line at Starbucks. You go, so people, you ask 9 out of 10 people about any coffee shop, they're going to say Starbucks, even though there's cheaper coffee, and I've had better coffee too. But I'm a fan of Starbucks. I like the business model. I always tell people, Starbucks, when you stop and think about it, they're really a bank. They're the coffee shop that acts like a bank. The memberships, right? You got to load money onto the card. You're just giving Starbucks an interest-free loan without even knowing about it. It's a bank, and I like that business model. So yeah.
Well, I think he can do it. If there's anybody that could, I mean, that's bringing in an all-star player to do something. Lex Manursim, God bless him, but he did an awful job at being CEO.
That was a little unexpected, but yeah, it happened really quick. But no complaints from me because I was able to take some profit.
Nice. Yeah, nobody ever went broke taking profit, right? Altria, last one I want to touch on real quick from what you wrote about is Altria. I sold out of them, personal reasons. A lot of people that watch the channel know. But you're still invested, and you think they're going to keep, I don't know. Do you think Enjoy and On can, On. I was thinking, no, that's the shoe too.
Yeah.
But do you think on, not the shoe, the nicotine pouch, you think that's going to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
able to save Altria? And I mean, they got declining cigarette smokers. If you look back to the
yeah,
early '80s, it's clearly declining the combustible users. But
yeah.
oh, and dude, from your article, I didn't even realize I was listening to it today. I was driving, and
Hmm.
the part about Juul that there's apparently a patent
Yeah,
infringement again, and it's like Juul is like the problem for
right.
Ultra that just will not go away.
Will not go away. Yeah, yeah. You learn about in the cigarette business, just a dirty business, man. That's what I really realized. Because that was new for me too. I always knew that they had issues with Juul, so I'm not surprised. But I was like, a lawsuit from Juul, But again, I just think it's a dirty business. But going to your question about on and can they save them? It's a little tough. I'm still invested, right? I believe in a turnaround. Again, I see the positive, and they're definitely making some headway. Philip Morris is killing the game right now, so it's a little tough. I was happy, so when they acquired Enjoy, I was following. It was like, oh, we're going to get them in 100,000 stores by the end of the year or whatever. And I was driving. I traveled quite a bit, and I stopped at a convenience store to get some snacks. And I was like, oh, Enjoy is there. I never saw it before, so I don't smoke, but I actually bought one. I was so excited to see it. I bought one, and I gave it to my friend to try. I was like, hey, try this and let me know how it is,
A
right? So I
guinea
can
pig,
tell
yeah.
the readers. He
Mm.
wasn't very fond of it, because it comes in two pieces. And, they're used to the one big, block vape that comes in one piece. So but he said he liked the sleek design and things like that. So I think if a lot of people don't know too, Ultra, they talked about creating some Bluetooth technology where it like locks for like underage children and things like that, which, will be cool for the FDA. They would love that. I'm hopeful, man, and will they ever get back to what they used to be with, consumers being healthier and, things like that? I'm not sure. But, right now, Enjoy and Altria is offsetting the decline in, cigarette sales, traditional smoking. So, and they have some other things too with the heated tobacco sticks with plume and things like that. So they have things, can they get it out there like that? Like Philip Morris is in and things like that? I mean, who knows? But I think they can turn things. I like Philip Morris's, not Philip Morris's, but Ultra's business model as well because hey, we just buy back a bunch of shares and we can keep, paying that huge dividend that we pay. And it's like I think they can do that for at least the near the medium term. So, but for how long? That's the question. So I'm happy about their turnaround so far, and I think they can do well.
Yeah, melting ice cube comes to mind. I've heard that thrown around about Altria.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I do think Enjoy weren't they already FDA approved when Altria acquired them?
Yeah, and I think that's why they did it because all their products were FDA approved, and so it was a smart move. And I know people. I wrote about this too, but people kind of gave them, smack about it, and it's like, oh yeah, they didn't learn a lesson from Jules and things like that. And it's definitely understandable, but it's like, hey man, they made a mistake. They have to learn from it, and you keep pushing forward. They can't sit and say, oh, we made that mistake, so we're never going to do it again. You go out of business if you think like that.
So Altria, one of those dividend stocks that's high dividend yield, low growth. That's something that I've come to learn and appreciate. I was all about the higher the yield, the better when I first was getting going doing this. And yeah, that was like 2018, right? I was still
Right,
in my
right.
40s, but first, and it's weird to think that, but I still got at least 20 some years growth trajectory ahead of me. So for younger investors, people that have a long time horizon, do you have any thoughts or opinions on focusing on stocks that are low starting yield but high growth, like a Visa or a Costco, as opposed to going after an Altria or some of these higher yielding stocks like an AT&T, but they don't grow the dividend as much? So I don't know. Any thoughts on that with what younger people, not financial advice, but what younger
Right.
people might want to think about?
Yeah, I think, if you're a younger investor, I definitely think you should focus a little bit more on growth. But for me, everything that I do in life is all about balance, right? It's like the saying, based off a healthy, balanced diet, right? But it's like, what does that actually mean? So you balance your proteins and your carbs and things like that. So I look at things like that and I break it down and I say, what is this? Like it's the same way I look at a meal. I'm like, okay, I'm eating a burger and this and how much protein, what am I getting carbs, so that's just how my brain functions. But I think younger investors should focus a little bit more on growth. But I think you shouldn't focus too much on, low yields, high growth. And there's nothing wrong with putting a few Altrias in there, right? Like I think a perfect stock portfolio, I think you should have a minimum of 10 stocks, right? That's just my personal opinion. People, they say they have 100 stocks,
Mhm.
150. I think that's too much. But that's for me because it becomes hard to manage. Balance, 75, 25, 75% growth, the Costco's and the Visas. Visa, I'm a huge fan of Visa. I would love to get Costco, but they're expensive, really
Oh
expensive.
my God. I can't
Costco is
do
the
it.
one stock I'm waiting to split. I told my girlfriend, I'm like, if Costco splits, I'm dropping everything and I'm buying. They're that good. But
That's an
yeah, I think
interesting
you
thought.
should.
I want to real quick. I want to touch on that splitting. So
Yeah,
for you, I mean, because nothing changes with the value of the business, right? So it's like
right.
I always tell people, it's like a pizza. If you have a pizza, cut into 4 slices, and then you cut it into 8, it's still the same size pizza. It's just smaller slices. But
Yeah.
so does that if that weights on you? So if Costco were to split tomorrow, you think you would pick up shares?
No, thank you. Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just love Costco's business model. I shop at Costco. I've always been very good at, understanding people. So I see the people don't care about spending their money at Costco, right? People will,
It's the
I
hundred
make
dollar store.
yeah, I joke with my girlfriend a lot and I talk about Costco and Amazon, right? And I said, man, in a few years you're gonna be able to buy a kid from there. Costco is selling,
Hot
gold and
take.
platinum bars.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you want a baby? Costco is selling them, 1 to 2 years old for, this amount of money, But yeah, I just love Costco's business model, their membership. You can get it's like a one-stop shop, right? Like, Amazon and Costco, they're one-stop shop. So and people love convenience, right? And again, people don't mind spending their money if they feel like they're getting their money's worth. And I think Costco is one of those businesses where people feel like I get my money's worth, like quality products. So yeah, it doesn't change anything, right? But I think Costco the other day I checked, it was like $935 a share. So
Yep.
it just makes it more affordable for retail investors and things like that. But so it doesn't change anything for its fundamentals and stuff like that. But yeah, I think because Costco is going to continue to grow, right? And they're going to continue to expand. I think, I don't think they're going anywhere. Whenever I look at buying a stock, I buy it with a forever horizon, kind of like Warren Buffett, right? But there are stocks that I buy and I'm like, oh, this might not be a forever hold because of, Altria. Altria is one of those. It's a play that I'm still holding and I plan on holding. But how long? Yeah, I don't know. They're one that I watch a little bit more closely because of the decline in smoking sales and things like that. So, but all the rest of my stocks, I'm like fundamentally they sound. I plan on holding them forever. Yeah, I might sell off a few shares to make profit, which I had to learn later. I was like, it's mine. I want to hold on to it, but it's like you have to learn how to take profit.
Yeah, the endowment effect, I think they call it, meaning that what you already own, you tend to put more value on it. And I think forever, like when we say forever, I think people can get tripped up on that because they think it's gotta be like forever. I can never ever sell this. But I don't know what helps me is I think it's forever, meaning until my thesis changes. So if the
Yeah,
thesis changes for investing, then forever's out the window because I didn't buy it for that. And actually, whoever's watching this, I'll be doing a video after this about Nexstar Media Group. It's my number one individual holding. Really enjoy the business. I think they're misunderstood, but during their last earnings call, they rolled out a word, their CFO Liang Liha, that I'm just not thrilled about, and I'm really digging into it, is adjusted free
hmm
cash flow. And when I hear adjusted free cash flow, I think like, that just sounds like a lot of financial shenanigans are about to be going on. So not doing anything yet. I may not do anything for a year, but it's definitely something that could change my thesis for investing because they weren't about that before. So
yeah.
that's
You just got to be honest with yourself, right? Like you said, you like I don't like that. You listen to management and the things they say, and of course, they try to brush around certain things or they don't want to give you a definitive answer. But it's like, oh, I didn't like that. Walgreens, right before they cut the dividend, the management said something I didn't like. And, they were on their way to be a dividend king. And, that's
mhm.
a huge thing, 50 years. And they held the dividend. And then I was like, why would you do that? If you're confident you're going to raise it because you want to get to that record. And I can't remember off the top of my head what they said, but I was like, oh, I don't like that. I think they're gonna cut it. And I wrote an article and I told people, they held a dividend. There's a reason why they normally raise it at this time, which doesn't always, mean something. I think Starbucks just did that. They delayed it for a little bit, like a week maybe, but they end up raising the dividend. But Walgreens was already having cash flow issues anyway, which is the huge thing that I'm about
Hmm.
because that's what they used to pay the dividend. I think I rated them a sale. I was like, I think they're going to cut the dividend. And one guy argued with me, and I was like, well, why didn't you think they raised the dividend if they've been doing it for like 48 years? And I think he said something about to give the CEO flexibility. I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll see. And I think like a month later, they cut the dividend. Management kind of told me that from, the key words that they said, like you just said, like, I didn't like that. So I'm going to dig into it a little bit more, and those are things that you got to pay attention to and be honest with yourself instead of, like, oh, no, I like, I think you said Next Stars, the company.
Next, yep, yep.
Yeah, so you're like, "Oh, I like this company," but it's like, "Yeah, I like them, but, if they're doing things I don't like, I have to start, thinking about, do I still wanna hold this company?" And that's what really helped me and, leave emotions out of it. That's the big thing is, I see stocks dropping now. If it's a company I love, I'm happy. When VICI drops or Agree Realty drops, I think you said that that company is misunderstood, and I kinda feel that way about VICI.
Yep.
It's a sin stock, right? People like, oh yeah, it's a sin stock. I don't like that stuff. And that's emotions, right? I don't smoke. I don't really gamble either, but I like the dividend that it pays me, So you just have to leave your emotions out of because I think Vici is misunderstood as well. I know a lot of people didn't like the bowling alleys. And so I spoke with Ed and I asked him like, hey, what was the reason? And he was like, it just gave us access into states that every state doesn't have casinos and things like that. So it gave us access to those states to own, real estate. And I was like, oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's some insight, man. That's good on you for being able to get that inside track. I love it. And you
Yeah.
reminded me of yourself because in your Vici article you said how you gamble, you bring $100, and as soon as it's gone, like
Yeah.
you're annoyed. You're like, I'm done. I'm the same way. I'll do
Yeah.
like $50, and as soon as that's gone, I'm like, all right, now I feel like crap. I'm like, forget it. I don't chase it. I'm just done.
Yeah.
So, what we'll start landing the plane here, but what do you think is what's a stock that's a hidden gem? What's a stock that nobody's talking about that you think they should be?
Man, so I don't know if it's still hidden. So I wrote on a stock. It's the ticker symbol is AGX or Argan, I think. I'm mad that I didn't buy it myself. I recommended them as a buy because I was like, man, I really like this company. I think it was at $49 a share. I just checked them yesterday and I was like, oh my God. They were at like $160 a share.
Oh,
So yeah, I was like, why didn't I buy this stock? Like, I think I was focused on REITs at the time because they were going down. But undercover stock that no one is talking about, Build-A-Bear. It's a company that people, you see it in the malls, right? This company has no moat, because it's just people building kids, building bears. But, I like what they're doing. I just published an article on them and I don't know how I came across them. I can't remember, but I looked into their financials and I was like, oh man, I think they just opened up store on the Las Vegas Strip in one of the hotels, and I think they paid a few special dividends and they're buying back shares. So yeah, Build a Bear. I think Build a Bear is a company that people should look into. It has a lot of potential. I can't say whether it's going to be a huge stock, but I love potential. I love seeing that. Hey, this could be potentially be this. One day. So I think Build a Bear is a good stock.
I covered them on the channel, not man, maybe a couple months ago. They were
Yeah,
one of the stocks to watch. Those videos we all do, and
yeah,
it's still on my watch list, and I probably should have started. Well, we could buy a million stocks. You got to be careful because
right.
I'll just start buying stocks and it'll get out of control. But yeah, it's funny when I think of Build a Bear, I'm like, dude, people are gonna always have little kids around, and if there's little
Yeah.
kids, they're gonna want stuffed animals. So there's always a constant uh, consumer that's going to, well, the kid isn't the parents will, but there's always going to be parents with kids, I guess.
People
I like it.
overlook that too. You have to look at some of the highest grossing movies, the Pixar movies, right? Those little kid movies, because the parents are gonna do what their kids want, right? Because it's your kid. You're like, oh, they
Yeah.
want this bear, or they want to see this movie. So there's a reason why those movies are the highest grossing movies. So kids are always gonna want bears, man. Now, yeah, sure, they can go out of business. Any business is susceptible to, going down or whatever. But Yeah, so I think people, you have to look at it a different way instead of say, "Oh, they have no moat." I think somebody commented on the article and like they have no moat, but it's like you said, right? Kids are always going to be around. Kids aren't going anywhere, and they're going to want their parents to buy them things. And Build a Bear is, still they're still growing. I think they just opened up a few stores in Europe. Yeah, I think Build a Bear is one that people should look out for.
Yeah, and not just that, but then the kids that had a Build-A-Bear, when they grow up and have kids, what are they going to want to buy? Like, oh, I used to have a Build-A-Bear. I need to buy my kid a Build-A-Bear. And hopefully the cycle will just keep going like that. What, any final advice, any final words for everybody that's still hanging in with us watching? By the way, put something funny in the comments if you're still watching. I always joke, I say an eggplant, but I don't know if I should be saying that. So,
Yeah.
just give us a heart or something like that if you're still watching here. But
Yeah.
anyway, so stupid, I know. I know I'm sailors, right? I'm worried about being
Oh yeah.
offensive. Like we're pretty
They'll
clean
tell
here
you.
for a couple of sailors, but what what did I ask you? Oh, I said any final advice?
I think, man, I think everyone should look into dividend investing, right? I think it might not be sexy for a lot of people, but it can really pay for your lifestyle, right? I think it's really cool to be able to, if you build your snowball up enough, you're like, oh yeah, Starbucks is gonna pay my rent. Realty income it pays my car payment, so you get a big enough portfolio, they can pay for, the things that you normally would pay for with your paycheck, and you can use your paycheck to go, do other things. So I think everyone should dividend invest, even if you like the growth stocks that don't pay, dividends like Tesla and things like that. I think everyone should have a few portfolios. It shouldn't just be one. Have your dividend portfolio, have your growth portfolio. Because of course, right? It's cool when you buy a stock at $20 and now it's $200. Or I caught Costco when it was $17. Or I caught Visa when it was $34. I hear a lot of people comment on my articles. I'm like, oh man, what
Yeah.
was I doing? So it's cool, right? It's cool to see those things. And while you should build a portfolio with that, you should build a dividend portfolio as well, because those profits can pay for your lifestyle and you get to, keep your earned income, the money that you work for. And it's like who wouldn't want someone else to pay for their lifestyle, right? That's how I look at it.
Beautiful, man. It's like building your own passive income pension.
Yeah. I tell
Fantastic.
people become your own bank, right? Be your own bank.
Heck yeah, man. So, and also the best piece of advice, follow you on Seeking Alpha. Let's try that again. Follow you on Seeking Alpha at the Dividend Collectuh.
Yeah.
And
Just
yeah,
type in Dividend Collectuh, go check out my article, follow me, and make sure you follow, Russ as well.
I'll have a link to your Seeking Alpha page below. Is there any other social media that they can reach at, or is that where it's the best place to hit you up? Is that Seeking Alpha?
Nope, Seeking Alpha is the best place. Hopefully I'll be on YouTube here soon doing videos, and they'll see us, doing some videos together. So
Heck yeah, man. I'm in. I'm in. So
yeah.
yeah, we'll leave it there. I do appreciate your time, Chief. I that's all I gotta say, man. I know he didn't want me to
No
say
worries.
Chief,
No,
but
no worries. No worries. All good. Hey, I
I
still
missed
get
it.
it when I go on base to the commissary, right? They're like, "Hey, Chief," and hey, man, I'm retired. Don't call me that. But no, it doesn't bother me at all. It's just that's how when I used to talk to Joy and Ed, I was like, "Hey, Mr. Petoniak, Mr. Green, hey, don't call me that. Call me Joy. Call me Ed. So it's just cool. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, say hello to them from all of us in the dividend investing community. And again, I thank all of you for staying this late and watching through the whole thing. So, Travis, thank you again for stopping on by. We'll be doing something again in the future. And I'll salute
Yeah.
everyone but you, Chief. So,
Yeah.
thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.